The election is a battle in a war. It is not something unto itself. The result of this election in itself is a matter of indifference. It's a question of how the battle is won and lost, which is important. We have obviously two disasters running for president. Though one has a good constituency, that is, Obama has a very large constituency, which is important. It is sensitive to the lower 80% of family income brackets, as the top of the Obama campaign is not. It's on the other side. But the Hillary's campaign is significant, but the issue is that forces in Britain, with their stooges in the United States, have said that a Hillary Clinton election, even a nomination, would mean that Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton would be in the White House. And this, the British Empire, such as it is, and its lackeys in Washington and elsewhere, are determined it shall not happen. And you're talking about methods such as assassination, if deemed necessary to prevent Hillary from becoming president. It was not just the Republicans who turned out en masse to vote for Obama in yesterday's Indiana and also North Carolina campaigns. That's what the margin was there. That's not the issue. That's part of the fraud. This was a gigantic fraud. I sat there at the television set and watched this thing coming down the last phases, and I saw something that from my nose I could see the stink all over the place. This election was totally fraudulent. Exactly how the fraud was exercised, we know one thing. There was a massive turnout of Republican-related vote for Obama in Raleigh-Durham. In contrast to other cities in North Carolina, where the expected result was going along, until the last minute, when a miracle occurred. Voters who had not yet been born were flooding the polls at the last minute of the polls. We've seen this sort of thing before. So the issue is not, but there's another issue here. There's also an issue of World War III. And World War III is between the British Empire, better known as the Anglo-Dutch liberal banking financial system on the one side, and the principal nations of Eurasia, Russia, China, India, and other nations, are the targets of intended warfare by the British Empire, which is already turning Europe into continental Europe into a mere colony of the British Empire through the program of the Lisbon Treaty. If the Lisbon Treaty were adopted, and is being pushed for adoption now, there would not be a single nation on the continent of Europe, west of Belarus and Russia, which had any sovereignty whatsoever. The British Empire would control the entirety of that region of Europe, from Portugal to the borders of Belarus and Russia, as a puppet of the Anglo-Dutch liberal financial interests. It is those interests represented in the United States who have, for a long time, especially since 1971-72, have taken over control of the U.S. dollar, control of the United States. Now they're moving in for the kill. And that's the issue. The issue is the fools think that in the Democratic Party, the people at the top are generally largely corrupt in this thing. They're lying their heads off. I watched some of them lie on television. I watched some of all the commentators, the television commentators lying like hell about what was going on right under their nose on television. And you could see the facts and you could see what they were saying. Two different things. But you're looking at a war between an empire run by London, not necessarily all the British people, but it's by the Anglo-Dutch liberal financier cartel. The same cartel that put Mussolini into power in Italy, the same cartel that put Hitler into power in Germany. And we're now at the brink of something like a Hitler power taking over the United States. If they grab the United States, then they will grab all of Europe under the Lisbon Treaty. If they control the United States and the parts of Europe under the Lisbon Treaty, then you will have an actual fighting war emerging on this planet against the continent of Africa and much of the continent of Asia and other places. You will have dictatorship. You will have mass starvation. The elimination of whole sections of the population of parts of the world through starvation. And that's part of the British program. It's the food war. We're now in a situation which I'll get into on the background. But that's the situation. We're not dealing with an election. We're dealing with whether there is in the United States, in the top layers of society, the moral fitness to survive. And so far, the vote is in the leadership of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. Neither is morally fit to survive. They're as unmorally fit to survive as the people who backed Mussolini and backed Hitler back in the 1920s and the 1930s. And if we allow this to happen, we will get the same kind of treatment that the victims of Mussolini, Hitler, and so forth suffered. That's where we stand. We have to win this war against that evil empire. That's been the long-standing fight. For me, it's a long-standing fight ever since I've had service in Asia, toward the end of the last World War, where I was in northern Burma, now called Myanmar, and in Calcutta area, in Bengal. And I saw the British Empire face up in those circumstances and elsewhere. I know the British Empire. Truman was a victim of British Empire. Look at, there's just a case in this thing. Franklin Roosevelt's intention at the close of World War II, before he died, his intention at that period, was to eliminate colonialism and all forms of imperialism for this planet. His intention was that once the peace had been secured, that the power of the United States developed through its agro-industrial and scientific power, which is the greatest power this planet had ever seen from any single source. If this power was going to be used by converting the war machine, which the United States had assembled to deal with the war against Hitler, to assemble that machine and transform it into a machine of production, and as Roosevelt spelled out specifically, to take nations and continents like Africa, the colonial nations of the world, and free them, not only by giving them political freedom, but by giving them economic assistance and technology to solve their problems, where they could emerge from being colonies and prey to essentially self-determining. And Roosevelt's intention for the United